Hello, everyone. I'm Christy Blyzeffer with Poets and Quants, and thank you for tuning in to our latest online MBA fireside chat. Today, we're talking with Naz Erenguc, Director of Admissions of MBA programs at University of Florida's Warrington College of Business. For this chat, we're highlighting a day in the life of a Warrington Online MBA. Well, thank you for joining us again, Naz. Great to see you.
Yeah, no, thank you, Christy. It's always great to be back with my friends at Poets and Quants. And I'm really excited to dive into this conversation about kind of the day in the life of an online MBA student, mainly because there are so many different types of online programs out there. And so I think really being able to kind of discern kind of the differentiation between what we have to offer at Warrington is going to be a great topic of our conversation.
Absolutely. Well, let's lay the groundwork a little bit. I know that Warrington has been offering an online MBA for a very long time, one of the longest in the business. Why don't you give us a bit of the history of the program and kind of the unique expertise Warrington offers?
Yeah, no, thank you for that. So I joke here that we have been delivering an online program for quite some time, so long that in fact we originally started calling it the Internet MBA when we launched back in 1999. And if any of you have watched maybe any of my other sessions about our online program, you may know this fun fact that we literally used to mail out VHS tapes to our students. So I'm not really, internet. I don't know. Maybe it's internet adjacent. But yeah. So we used to mail out our students their actual VHS recordings of their lectures. Obviously, we don't do that anymore. Although it would be fun too, just to see if anybody still has a VHS player. But basically, we've been in this space for over 25 years, delivering this phenomenal online experience. And over that 25-year period, we've been able to really fine tune and adjust the program to really meet our students' needs. And it's great because over the years, we've altered kind of the frequency in which students would come to campus and obviously how they would watch their lectures. But I think that today, where we are, is in a really fantastic spot to really make this a user-friendly platform. We're constantly thinking about the student experience to really make it a rich one, even for our online students. So to kind of give you a little bit of insight, our program, how we're a little bit different is that we still require students to come to campus for a live orientation. And I think that is a huge component of what makes for such a rich MBA experience. Although students only have to come for 2-day orientation, which falls on a Friday and a Saturday, it allows students to get to know not only their classmates who they will experience this MBA program with, but it allows them to feel like they truly are a Gator and a part of the Warrington family. And so, I think that that's a key thing. So first and foremost, that even though we're an online program, we do have a synchronous orientation, but then everything else actually in our online space is asynchronous. So you still get to download your lectures now online through the course e-learning management site, and you're able to watch your lectures asynchronously. And we'll go into that in a little bit more detail, but I think the big differentiation is the fact that we still require that campus requirement or that campus orientation, but then everything else is done asynchronously. And then the only other thing at this juncture that I'll talk about as a differentiation is that we offer an online 1-year and an online 2-year program. The 2-year program is designed for any undergraduate major. So if you've never seen a single business course before in your life, that's okay. We have just the right program for you. Whereas with the online 1-year program, this is specifically designed for those who have already taken the core business classes. So we're not going to repeat any of those courses. So you can still do a part-time, busy working professional focused online MBA program, but you can condense it into just over 1 year as opposed to a 2-year program. So those are the big kind of things that I at least on kind of the outset would like to highlight here.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, if we're diving a little bit deeper into that student experience part, and after that orientation, it's, the asynchronous program. can you kind of tell us about how many, a little bit deeper about what kind of the structure, the schedule, the feel of it is, how many classes they're taking, that kind of thing?
Yeah. So first and foremost, with this online program, we actually, whether you're in a 1 year or a 2 year program, we have 3 intakes per year. So we do a fall, spring, and summer intake. Another great thing to think about is the fact that even though we are an asynchronous program, we're still a cohort structured program. So you're going to come in with about 50 online 1 year students and about 70, 75 online 2 year students. And so you as a group of students will take the same courses from start to finish with the caveat of one. And so the average expectation of our students is that they will spend about 15 to 20 hours a week watching their lectures, doing individual work, group projects, and of course our faculty members, they always will do virtual office hours, and oftentimes specifically because this online program is designed for busy working professionals. They will choose to do their office hours either in the evenings or on the weekends to allow our students to not have to compete with other work or professional obligations. So 15 to 20 hours a week will be a mixture of watching lectures, individual work, and group work. And I'll tell you, when it comes to group work, Christy, about our average class will spend, or group, and I should say, will do about a 1 hour group check-in every week, whether that's on Zoom or Teams or something like that, just so that everybody's on the same page. Some groups really like to communicate more frequently and fluidly. Others are like, we'll just use whatever Google Docs to communicate and email. So it really just depends, but be expected to still be in high contact with your classmates and your faculty members.
Yeah, I think that's a very important, distinction for a lot of people looking at online MBAs. They still want to feel like they're part of a school or in a cohort and all that. And so tell me a little bit. I know cohorts, vary widely across cohort to cohort, but what generally are the kinds of students that you're attracting?
Yeah. So a cohort, as I said, kind of those cohort numbers, maybe about 50, in the 1 year, about 70, 75 in the 2 year. The cool thing is with the 1 year program, let me just quickly plug the fact that these students all have to have a business degree within the last 7 years. So you're going to see a concentration of business majors, whether it's finance, accounting, marketing, management, or supply chain. So of course, there's a little bit more homogeneity when it comes to the academic backgrounds, but in terms of the companies and the professional experiences, those obviously are going to be much broader. Our average 1 year online student, has about 4 or 5 years of professional experience, so they're not fresh out of undergrad. They've all received some real world experiences, and now are kind of at that critical point where they're thinking, hey, if I want to grow, I need to really continue to increase my leadership and business acumen above and beyond what I've done as an undergrad. And so some of the big industries that we see, if I had to bucket them, we do see defense contractor. We get a lot of Lockheed Martin, or L3 Harris, but then we also see a lot of like financial services or CPG. So, it really just kind of varies. And it was fun, actually. I love doing these sessions mainly because it gets me the opportunity to rerun reports on some of the top companies or industries, or even geography where students are coming in from. And so whether it's kind of the 1 year program or the 2 year program, we have about 300 different companies represented amongst our about 550 online MBA students. And so, of course, as I said, the 1 year students, they typically are coming from traditional business backgrounds and therefore are in more functional business roles, if you will. The 2 year students, they have usually about 8, 9 years of experience, so a little bit more professional experience. And this is where we see a lot of our individuals that are in the healthcare pharma sector, or who are more in the government or nonprofit space. And so the kind of the depth and the breadth then of the companies and the types of roles represented and the 2-year program are going to be a little bit more vast. But it's actually a great opportunity, because when you think about the number of companies and industries, every year when orientation hits, or maybe not every 3 times a year when orientation hits, we always have the situation where someone's like, oh, I work for Amazon too. What department are you in? And so it's actually kind of fun, even though there are a lot of companies represented. You'll see some concentration towards some of these bigger ones. Of course, we're in Florida, so you're going to see, the Disney or Florida Power and Light, and we always get students from kind of Universal and things like that. So they are typically more regional companies represented, but the backgrounds and, whether that's academic or professional, are kind of all over the place. And that's, I think, really what makes the experience that much richer. And the other thing that I'll add too is, like, when we talk about this rich population of, from professional and academic experience, I'll also tell you that on average, our students are taking 2 classes a semester. And so when they're in these classes, sometimes it might be relevant to their industry, or, or maybe a completely new concept altogether. But having that diversified experience within the class and individuals on your team that all come from different walks and backgrounds really makes kind of that team dynamic quite exciting.
Yeah, great class, great discussions when they have that opportunity with all those diverse backgrounds, for sure. Um, let's go a little bit into the kind of the week to week schedule. How are students engaging? Are they taking one class at a time or 2 classes at a time? Just tell us what a week might look like for an online MBA.
Yeah. So first and foremost, I'll tell you that when students enroll, because we are a lockstep program, they know exactly what they're taking from start to finish. At the beginning of the semester, our students get access to their e-learning platform, where they can download all of their lectures and watch them at their pace and convenience. So if we have different time zones, or individuals that are working different hours, or we always see the consultants that are always traveling, you have that flexibility kind of week to week of determining exactly what hours of the day you're going to be watching your lectures. That's the beauty of the asynchronous format. So, kind of what I said earlier, it's about 15 to 20 hours a week collectively of doing all things MBA related. But the cool thing is also our faculty at the beginning of the semester, they will give you a syllabus. That's kind of your semester-long contract between you and the faculty member, and they're going to tell you what should be completed week to week. Now, there might be certain weeks that are a little bit heavier on kind of when it comes to assignments or online discussion postings, or maybe a virtual exam. But you'll notice that week to week, although that might change, we have it laid out well enough in advance so that you can plan accordingly. So the average term is 10 weeks. So every 10 weeks, you're in 2 classes. So every 10 weeks, you have a new faculty member with a new contract of your syllabus, of exactly knowing what you're going to be doing from start to finish. And I'll tell you also, Christy, that the question that I oftentimes get is, how do exams or things work? Usually, the faculty members will give you a couple days window whereby you have to go online and do it. So it's not like everybody has to all be logged in at Monday morning at 8 a.m., right? Because once again, this program was designed for that busy working professional that's in different time zones and has different professional constraints. And so usually we'll give students a time frame for what needs to be completed and when, so that whenever that works for their schedules, they're able to do so. So typically, that week to week will look very different every 10 weeks, because you're going to be in a new set of courses. But you can rest assured that faculty member will give you enough insight as to, when their office hours are, what should be completed week to week. And I always tell students that if you have an annual conference or family vacation coming up, this is the beauty of the online program, is that you can watch ahead. This is where I'm not going to focus on procrastination, watching ahead, so that you can always stay ahead of what classes you have to come. And, there is one elective course that our students get to choose from throughout their time of enrollment. So during the program, they'll choose one experiential learning course that they can then dictate when they will take that. So that specific course, will maybe not hinder, sorry, it'll adjust what that semester or that term may look like if it's, kind of between terms, taking a 1 week course, whether that's on campus or online or, going on a global trip or something like that. But for the most part, every 10 weeks, 2 classes.
Great, great. Well, tell us a little bit more about the kind of chances for teamwork and collaboration that you mentioned, and if you can give us like some examples of what that might be.
Yeah, so there are a lot of MBA programs out there that are purely theoretically based, and then others that are case methodology based. We're right in that middle. We like to have a mixture of both. So you're actually going to see that as you're enrolled, a lot of what you will do will be project based, which allows you ample opportunity to get to know your other team members. Typically, teams comprise of about 4 to 5 individuals. So of course, that's 3 or 4 others that you will work very closely with, at least in that 10-week span, doing course projects or case studies. Now, the thing is, we really encourage teams to shift up every term. So we like to, some faculty members may randomize teams, others may let students self-select. But as part of the MBA program, at least at the beginning, when students come for orientation, they get to know their classmates in person, right? So they get an idea of who will share their classroom experience with, so that when they go from in-person to online, they've already gotten to know their teammates or classmates as a whole. And so every semester you'll have a team that you'll work most closely with. And we encourage those teams to dissolve and form new teams, so that maximizes the networking opportunities. And recognizing that some teams, they're like, no, we never want to break up. We want to stay together through thick and thin from start to finish. And then you'll have a faculty member that says, no, I'm going to randomize this. So it might throw a wrench in kind of their team dynamic. But we actually think that networking is a paramount, facet of an MBA program. So beyond the teamwork and beyond kind of what you do in the classroom environment, we do a lot of virtual networking events, on-campus networking events, and then regional campus events. And so even before an online student has ever made it to campus for orientation, we've already hosted a number of virtual get-to-know-your classmate events leading up to orientation, so that when you come to Gainesville, Florida, you're not looking at somebody at the hotel bar thinking, that might be a familiar face. Maybe I saw them, maybe I haven't. No, now you will have been able to already get to know some of your classmates before you've even enrolled in the program. So we do pre-orientation networking. We also encourage our students to come back to campus once a semester for a 2-3 day residency a residency optional opportunity, where students can come and get to know their other MBA students. They can get to know their classmates in a different capacity, maybe not just an academic, but we will run residency programs that have different topics. So it allows students to come back to campus. They get to learn something maybe about, the last one we ran was an ethical leadership seminar, but then we also had an opportunity for our students to go to a baseball game together. In the fall, we usually do a big fall tailgate. So a couple of weeks ago, we had a big homecoming tailgate where we had about 600 students and alums come to. And so that was a fun, maybe not a professional networking opportunity per se, but more of a fun networking. But
All
there's
that.
that we need both, right? We need both. So it was a good mixture of meeting your classmates kind of in the context of their courses, meeting the larger MBA population at these various residency opportunities, coming to campus for a homecoming tailgate, or we do regional networking events throughout the year as well. And oftentimes we'll partner with our Gator clubs throughout the US to also facilitate networking opportunities.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, you know, are there ways that the students are networking or reaching out to alumni, engaging with them in other ways besides these kind of like, planned meetups? How are they using the alumni network?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So when it comes to our alumni, we really pride ourselves on having a very committed alumni base, and oftentimes they will do virtual or in-person speaker series. So in fact, just last week we had a virtual speaker series with one of our distinguished alums where all of our students, including our online MBA students, were invited to this event. So a lot of our alums will give back, whether it be through speaker series or doing day in a life of, to shadowing, or oftentimes we'll just do more kind of formal pairing with our business career services office. So let's say an online student's looking to connect with somebody in their area that is at a specific company or within a certain role, and they're looking to broaden. That's where my team and our business career services and alumni team come together to also do pairing on a more individualized basis. But our alumni are paramount when it comes to especially doing events such as our global immersion or domestic immersion experiences. We really lean into our alums to say, hey, we're coming to your area, is there a way you can host us? Or tell us more about your career and how you got to where you are. And so these are types of ways in which we continue to engage our alums as a way to give back to their Warrington family, but also to allow our students in different geographic areas to still feel very connected to the program and gain something more than just being in a classroom environment with these students.
Yeah. You mentioned that your career office, pairing. Tell me a little bit more about just kind of what the kind of career services and coaching you offer the online MBAs.
Yeah, so even as an online MBA student, you have a career coach dedicated to you. So whether you're a full-time executive, online, weekend, part-time student, you have a dedicated career coach, because we recognize that whether you're looking to grow within your organization, looking to make a career pivot, or maybe you just don't know, because part of doing an MBA is exploring what job opportunities and what professional, interests you may have. And so our career coaches actually, even before also orientation, you gain access to our career curriculum that is the same for all of our students. And it's basic things on updating your LinkedIn profile, what should or shouldn't be included, in your resume or CV. These are all things that basic kind of content that we can deliver online. Then once a student comes to Gainesville for orientation, in part why we love having that in-person orientation, is that you get to meet your career coach. You get to start having that conversation with them. And so then when you kind of go through that online virtual career course, afterwards or at some point, then you will be pinged to say, now it's time to start working on your career strategy. So let's set up one-on-one times with you and your career coach to start doing so. And that is a highly supportive way in which our program can kind of say, whether you're looking today or tomorrow or in 5 years for new opportunities, we want to make sure that you're ready with that career strategy and all of those, the mock interviewing, the salary negotiations, all of those things in hand, so that you feel prepared once those opportunities arise.
Absolutely. With the little time we have left, I'm thinking about the career professional who may be watching this, who is really thinking about an online MBA, but maybe they don't know if they really have the bandwidth with their family and their work and all that we've talked about today with the day in the life. Kind of what advice do you have for them about how to evaluate whether an online MBA is right and the Warrington Online MBA is right?
Yeah, I always say time value of money. There's no better time than to do an MBA now as opposed to waiting. And we recognize that there's never going to be a good time to do add a 15 to 20 hour a week commitment. But what I would suggest is that we have, a massive alumni base, of near, 13,000 graduates. We've been delivering this program for quite some time. We have done a really fantastic job of creating a virtual learning space for our students to hit the ground running. The best thing about an online MBA program is that you get to watch a lecture and immediately go to your work the next day and implement it. So talk about a phenomenal ROI. But what I will also say is that we also recognize that life happens. You might get relocated. You might have to care for a loved one. You might be welcoming more family members. And in which case, we have a phenomenal support team that will help you either if you're looking to take a pause or maybe, transition out for some time and then come back. We pride ourselves, Christy, on having a graduation and retention rate of over 90% in our online space. And that is, a testament to all of the resources that we have to ensure a successful MBA experience. And so it might not be the right time for you today. Maybe it will be tomorrow, or maybe you just need to think about, is the today the best time to start. And in any which one of these scenarios, I say reach out to me. I'm gladly available to any and all to talk through, does this make sense, and how can you fit this into your life, and recognizing that there will be sacrifice. You might not have as much time to play tennis or to watch as much YouTube or whatever it may be, right? But there will be a sacrifice, but I guarantee there will be a phenomenal return on that investment for years to come.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Naz. It's always a pleasure to talk to you and learn a little bit more each time about the Warrington Online MBA. Tell us, or to finish, anybody watching that wants to dig a little deeper into Warrington, tell them the best way to start engaging to with you guys.
Yeah, I say just reach out to me directly. I will never shy away from, talking to anybody who's interested in kind of starting their journey with us. And so Naz at warrington.ufl.edu is my email address. Reach out. My contact is on our website. I have opportunities to, if you don't want to meet with me and you want to meet with a team member, we do coffee chats throughout not only, here in Gainesville, but throughout the US. So look at our coffee chat schedule. We do virtual info sessions every week. Like I said, reach out to me directly if you have any specific questions, but my team and I were available and here and ready to help.
Absolutely. Well, thank you again. And thanks to our viewers for tuning in. We have so many more conversations with Naz and Warrington on our YouTube page and, of course, on our website, poetsandquants.com. And watch more online MBA panelists from top schools over the next couple of days. And until next time, thanks for listening.